Hello everyone, it's Friday night and it is time for the Weekender once again. We have another packed show for you featuring Dwarves, Dark Ages, Grimdark and Discworld. There's probably some other things starting with D in the show as well. I can think of 3 of them right here. Now sit back and relax because your weekend starts here. Hello everybody and welcome to the Weekender. I'm joined this week by Brother Lloyd.
Hola!
To have a gentle meander through the tiny fighting men's world. All about the tiny fighting men's. It's good times.
Yes.
Good times in the can.
Very good.
You look shell-shocked, Lloyd. Is this because you haven't been on a show in so long? People probably forgot who you are.
What is this world I have found myself in?
Be okay. We'll get you
let the
through
derailing begin. Yeah. So
we have let's focus.
That's not all I'm useful for, you know. I'm pretty spaced too.
There's the eye candy. We have been welting our way through a whole host of stuff for N5 this past week, as you may have noticed. And as such, we have quite a few videos out there, if you've not already seen them, that you can go and have a nosy at and also comment on if you want to win one of those Sand Trap bundle or Sand Trap games, rather.
so golf.
Battle packs.
What you say, not golf. Of course it's golf. Why else would they call it Sand Trap if it's not golf? So if you're
look,
interested,
there's a sneaky peek of what's coming.
Shh, say nothing. By the time this is out, they'll have seen it. Well, all but that one.
Oh yeah, that is not a sneaky peek of what's coming.
Not a sneaky peek. So, whole host of videos about the game, the factions, the changes they've made, and even down to the concept art and the like as well. If you want to win one of the Sand Traps, there's 3 to give away. So you can comment on any of the videos on YouTube. You can comment again on any of the videos on tabletop.com. And if you're a Cult of Games member, there's an extra chance to win over on Tabletop.
Very nice.
Get in, fill your boots, have a nosy around, kick the tires, see what it's like. Work out how your handicap can be reduced.
When we have prizes, that is the only time being a cultist actually pays off. Any other time, cults just ruin your lives.
Where would we be?
It's true.
I mean, yeah.
What's happening in the world right now, and how few of those would have kicked off or had been.
Yeah. I mean, you get free Kool-Aid if you join most cults.
That is true. You can get yourself a very nice robe, maybe a pair of sweatpants.
The Stonecutters.
And an asteroid to call home.
Yes. Which we get to send Justin to, but we need to. Yeah. So.
Well, he's quite streamlined. If we must, if we get him a cone head, we'll be able to launch him easier.
Yes, very true.
It's time to a weather balloon. Is that what you're saying?
And a deck chair.
Just a deck chair. Did you ever see the guy? Oh, no, we can't go down. Did you ever see the guy who did that? Attached a load of helium balloons. Yeah. Attached a load of helium balloons to a lawn chair and then sat there with a BB gun because he thought he would shoot them to gently descend. But he'd overestimated the buoyancy. And the minute he cut the thing, it immediately went zoop into the air. And he couldn't get back down. Well, he did actually get back down.
Yeah. Did someone not send his mother-in-law into space too, doing that? Or is that just my dream?
That might be your dream. Could you be thinking of the woman who donated her body to medical science and then they give it to somebody like the American Air Force or NASA who put it into an ejector seat and fired her? Do you not see that one? Oh, no, that's one to Google. Everybody at home, go and Google that one. Be careful when you leave your body to medical science. It may not just be used to help the next generation of doctors. They might go, what happens if we fire an old lady's corpse into the air by the medium of an ejector seat?
Oh, welcome to the Weekender.
And I'm the derailer. Me.
Anyway, it's time for the most important part of the week. It is, of course, the indie of the week. And this week's indie Ben got to choose last week.
I did.
Before I steamrollered over him, going,
And you
no,
went, no,
no,
Moonstone.
not for you. I think you'll find multi-winning Moonstone.
Multi-award-winning Moonstone, yes.
Yes,
but this time, we're going to be having a look at the folks from Enviro Games and their game, which is recently out into the world, called Novus Mallum. So to give you an overview of Enviro first, I think would probably be the best way to do it. So their whole shtick is that they're trying to create games that are environmentally friendly, or at least as environmentally friendly as they possibly can be.
Are they using plastic?
Well, here's where we dive into this. So all of the components that they have within their game box for Novus Mallum are sort of card or paper or wood. So it's all stuff that can easily be replicated. And all
what about that stuff that looks plasticky? What's that?
So that's done using Ceocast stuff, which, if you know Ceocast, is also biodegradable and recyclable. Yeah. And they also have gone to great lengths to try and make it so that a lot of the stuff that they create sort of fits into that wheelhouse. So
wait a minute. If it's biodegradable, does that mean if I get my miniatures wet, they just sort of dissolve?
I mean, it's not that biodegradable.
that would be impressive.
Yes.
Oh, so we're still talking like hundreds of years biodegradable.
Well, yeah, to a degree.
What about that? Is that a spray can? Has that got CFs in
it? This is where this particular page and a lot more of the other stuff that they've done goes into more detail, because they obviously know that to some degree they can't make it as environmentally conscious as possible, because you're still going to need paints and brushes and all this kind of thing and whatever. But they're doing as much as they can.
Haven't they missed the point though? Every tabletop game is kind of environmentally friendly, because generally once you're finished using the light and stuff they don't use electric. It's much better than playing video games. It doesn't need a big ass server in Iceland or buried under the sea.
Yes, but there's a lot of
on the other side
industry.
There's a lot of it's a lot of actually making the shit, isn't there?
You know, big factories full of metal and plastic and
It's a point in all that packaging and postage.
Exactly. Yes. So they try and do things.
Ignore the last 5 minutes of the show.
There we go. So they do things. They do things as locally as possible with sustainable stuff and all that kind of thing. So it all comes from managed forests and all that kind of thing as well. And they also try and work so that anything that they don't use, so anything that comes out miscast or whatever, then goes back into the production process and then is used to make more miniatures, which I think is quite good. This is all sort of culminated in this particular set that you see here, which is the Novus Mallum starter set, which comes with two forces for you to choose from. So it's based in a world that they've kind of developed themselves over a little while, where you can take on the role of either the dwarves or the gnomes, which I thought was quite nice. And to kind of tie into the environmental side of things, there's actually quite an interesting mix between the two factions.
They have dwarves fighting gnomes.
Exactly, yes. And the dwarves are all about progress and metal and all that kind of thing, whereas the gnomes are all about using the natural world and the land, and so you've got that element built into there as well, which I think is quite nice.
Like how they've decided their gnomes are like knees.
Yes. Gnomes.
What's the scale difference between the gnomes and the dwarves?
Well, I haven't. We can have a look at some of the models in a second as well, actually. But you can see here. But as I say, they've built it all up around their own fantasy world. They've built loads of detail into this. There's loads of background. The dwarves and the gnomes are only going to be the first of the miniatures that they do for this as well. In good modern gaming world awesomeness as well, they have made all of the rules available for you to dive in and play online. Well, get your hands on online for free as well. So you just need to get yourself the core rules and everything there. And so, it's all just been put into a big onto their site now for you to dive into and have a look at. So, yeah, it's very, very good. One of the nice things about, if we've got the actual, should we have a look at the rules first and then we'll look at the miniatures? So if you go to the actual core rules themselves, they break down quite quickly over a series of like 7 pages, and they've got some quite interesting ways that the game actually works. So it still uses dice and stuff, although you obviously are encouraged to use wooden dice. Or whatever you have in your collection, don't buy new stuff.
Yeah. What if I've got my knuckle bones that I harvested?
Exactly.
Don't ask me where from.
Use those from that person down the road that you didn't like.
You mean that person who was donated to medical science?
Yes,
that one?
Yes.
Once I
shot out of a seat. But yeah, so the rules themselves are quite cool. They're fairly simple to get your head around, but some of the really nice things that they've added in is that the process of a round is that you allocate activation tokens to different units, and then you have to activate them in that order, but that order carries through in movement, shooting, and combat and magic at the same time. So you have to make a conscious choice at the beginning. This is how I want to structure my turn. This is the order that I want to go into, and so does the opposing player. So you set up and you have to really play a game before you actually dive into the actual mechanics and playing things out as you go each turn, which I think is quite nice. The other thing they've done, which I think is really cool, is that a lot of the resolution for both shooting and melee attacks is very different. So for shooting attacks, you flip a coin or a token, and that dictates whether or not you hit, and then you roll to see damage and all that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to close combat, they have a sliding scale of like X beats Y beats Z, etc. as you go down. So if you go to like, I think it's page 13, you'll see like a little bit of a breakdown of that. So when you get into combat, you pair it off a little bit like Middle-earth strategy battle game, where as much as you can, one character is fighting one character. And then what you'll do is that you'll choose a token that you want to use. So say you want to choose, I don't know, block or something, or stab. And then you compare that against the other player. And if you beat them in that sliding scale, then you get to do the hit, etc. Which I think is quite a nice little sort of way of doing things.
Rock, paper, scissors, but with
rocks, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock. Yeah.
Because you've only got the three there. So crush beats block, block
Mm-hmm.
beats stab, stab beats crush.
Yes. Yeah.
And then it circles back round again.
Mm-hmm. Which I think is a really cool. And there you can see the scale of the miniatures, Lloyd. You can see how big the dwarves are to the gnomes. The gnomes are little tiny wee fellows, as you can see.
Hold on, I wasn't looking. I was looking up rock, paper, and scissors, how they say it in the United States.
Well, they say rock, paper, scissors, doesn't it?
No, I think they call it rock, Rochambeau or something.
Rochambeau.
What?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's right. I'm aware of Rochambeau from the States, and that's where somebody kicks you square in the nuts to see who gets first turn. That's Rochambeau, my friend.
Oh,
isn't that Rochambeau?
Oh, maybe. The other thing that's quite nice is because obviously you've got this. They don't need to worry about values effectively for how one character fights against another. A lot of the detail then goes into the characters themselves, so you can actually see if we go to the dwarves unit cards potentially.
Yes, dear.
Look at those. You'll see how the characters work and their specialities with particular weapons and how that works, where they move, and how their abilities then tie into either commanding those around them or just fighting themselves effectively against other people. You'll see how many wounds they have, defense, and all that kind of thing. Defense is the score you need to roll once you have hit in order to do damage. And then obviously the save is what you need to roll to stop a wound from going through. So it's quite a small game, quite a narrative game where you're playing with only maybe a handful of miniatures per side, fighting out very narrative scenarios on the tabletop. But I think this gives them lots of real scope to kind of expand things out and change things as they go through and add new factions in, because you're not having to deal with the equivalent of a stat line anymore. You can just have real fun with the abilities and how that works, because then everything is tied back into those core mechanics, which I think is quite nice. But yeah, looking quite fun as a game to maybe try out and have some fun with, especially with the kind of back and forth and the bidding and stuff like that.
Trying to work out what combat specialty did. You modify wound rules by +1.
Yes.
So if
you're encouraged to go with crush to try and get the bing, but if the player knows that if you have crush, that's what you're going to go for, then they might go for a different token to try and beat you and all that.
So being shot up by crossbow bolts from a stabbery unit of dwarf guardians means they're more likely to wound you if they get through, but therefore you'll go, well, I'll try and preempt your stabbery with my own blockery, crushery,
crushery,
whatever one it was.
But yeah, so as I say, all the rules are available online for free, so you can download and get the core rules and all of the bits and pieces for them as well. So if you have some miniatures in your collection already that you want to maybe play around with and use, then you could always start out with that and then maybe come back and check out the miniatures that they've been doing. Yeah, if you go over to the store now, Jerry,
yes, dear,
have a look at some of the you'll see some of the fun miniatures that they've been doing. So as I say, they only have the dwarves and the gnomes at the moment, but you can get them as individual miniatures, as you can see there. All of them are Seocast mounted on MDF bases. So great stuff. I've seen a couple of people painting these up, and they have the familiar pitfalls of Seocast, which is that they come in a material that's a little bit harder to clean up and all that kind of thing, but there's no less detail in the miniatures. It's just they're a little bit more of an effort to get rid of things like mold lines.
To be fair, from most people I see on the internet, nobody cares about mold lines except me.
Anyway. Yes, that's true.
They don't clean
them. You're the only person zooming in on people's miniatures to find mold lines. Very true.
If you are going to do it, just use graded sandpaper.
Yes. That's actually one of the recommendations that has been used in some of the videos I've been watching. So, yeah.
But why, Jerry? You can barely see.
I can see a mold line. I can see a mold line from a mile away.
Reading
Fear
text, no, but mold lines, yes.
I mean, can you see the issue with his axe there? Because I can't not see that. Right there, there's a little blip there and a blip above it there that both need to be filed down.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Those, I can't not see those.
Yeah.
They stick out at me like a sore thumb.
But yeah, so they've got miniatures for the two leaders. So you've got Kragner and Zizka, who are the two leaders, but then you've got all the individual miniatures as well. So if you want to get yourself some more hammers or guardians, or the hunters and the skirmishers, you've got those options there as well, which I think is quite nice.
He's a really fun dwarf leader, to be fair. I like him.
I like the two-tone beard look.
Yeah.
The grey and the ginger. I think that's very cool.
There's nothing wrong with the two-tone beard look, bitch.
They don't have gnome hats.
No, they don't. They don't have big heads.
They're not garden gnomes.
Oh.
They're not gnomes de jardin.
What? They're just little blue avatars.
They're Smurfs.
Yeah.
You're being attacked by an army of Smurfs coming out of Smurf village, smurfing away.
I don't think so. Smurfs have hats.
And then they hang your smurfing entrails in the smurfing trees as a warning to all the other smurfing dwarves.
Oh my god, how did you know the lore to Novus Mallum?
I like it. I like the idea of, even if you don't go for the miniatures, the fact that you can just plow in and start playing the game. With your own bits and pieces is nice as well.
I like the idea of being a human and plowing into the middle of it and putting one hand on his head and one hand on their head and having them swinging at each other and nothing happening.
That only works if they're attempting to punch. If they're swinging any sort of weapon, you're going to say goodbye to your kneecaps.
Oh, dear. Yeah.
Good times. Good times are had by all.
I will also say...
But then that's what Jerry feels like when he walks into the office. Little tiny guy there. Little tiny guy there.
I would also say, if you want to go in and get yourself a kind of starter set, they do also do that as well. So they have the Novus Mallum, a new evil set, which comes with loads of the characters and then all of the miniatures that you'll need for both sides, alongside the rulebook and the tokens and everything else as well. So all the tokens that we were looking at in the rules there for like stab and crush and all that kind of thing are included in there, all etched detail, which is very nice, alongside the lovely cardboard packaging and everything as well. So it all looks very nice. Once you've got it all set up and ready to go, dive in and play and have some fun.
The great thing is, if the game takes off, it'll not be long before there's third parties producing all those tokens in plastic.
Yep. That is correct. We can't argue that. I'm hoping to have mine all made out of turtle shell and ivory. I've got a guy. Mum's the word.
Novus Mallum, everyone.
Right. I think it's time to take a look at some news.
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
So, Corvus Belli then. They haven't just been up to the old sci-fi stuff with the Infinities. They've also been ploughing into Warcrow and their world there in greater detail, Ben.
Warcrow? Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to get new heroes and officers for Warcrow coming down the pipeline. As it stands at the moment, a lot of their releases are focused on building out the hegemony of Embasig and the Northern Alliance, as you expect, because those are the ones in the Winds for the North set. And so you've got 2 releases for each of the factions. The first of those for Embasig is Marhail the Refused. So he's a new mage/warrior, like a spell sword kind of thing, if you were sort of using D&D terms, who actually attacks using magical damage with his melee weapon. and also spells and things. So it actually really hard
Where
to block
is his
him
melee weapon?
You can see that glowing weapon behind
the
him.
white bit.
Oh,
of
the whole
black.
thing is. Oh, I see.
That's
So-
a cool effect.
That's
The effect.
it's like one of those fighting fantasies.
Exactly, yeah. There should be a gun hidden in the hilt somewhere as well.
Probably is.
Who the hell's painting scales on this guy? Gee whiz.
Ankel Heraldus is who's doing it. So if you can chain him up in a basement and make him do it, then you're sorted, really. But so yes, he's a new character that you can throw into your games for Embasig, able to cause panic and all sorts of things on the tabletop against the Northern Alliance. But backing Marhail up, we also have a set of Black Legion officers. So this comes with a named character and also just a regular bog standard character as well. So you get Nadheza Lazard, who's the lady at the front.
I'm guessing, yeah.
Who,
Which could be the named character? Which is
the one with
who
main
looks,
character energy.
Yep,
Yes,
that's the one.
She is the leader of your forces. She's an excellent swordswoman, as you would imagine, but she's able to boost the morale of your units when they're in combat. And she can also, because she's so good at her fighting and stuff, she can apply vulnerable statuses to the enemies she's fighting, so you can get more bonuses when you attack them, which is a really nice way of thinking about things.
Fancy.
Sort of tying all your units together as well, which is good. And then alongside her, you also have the regular corporal, who doesn't have main character energy.
No. He's got the, after the war, I'm getting married to my sweetheart and going back to university. That's what he looks like.
Yeah. But comes with bonus command tokens. So you're able to activate your units a little bit more, and also is able to reduce the stress that your allies are under as well on the tabletop. So a good way of keeping morale up in such a way as to be like, well, the hegemony wouldn't like it if you ran away. Kind of way, probably. So
I suggest bringing him
really
elf to
likes
set
the
fire to
hegemony of
everybody.
fantasy? Well, that's true. Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yes. Jerry does enjoy fire, as we found out during Warcrow week. Yes. Watch those videos. They're very good.
Yes.
On the Northern Alliance side of things, we also have an epic new character. So we have the Dark Master, who is looking very World of Warcraft.
Kill Jaden.
Yes.
He's killed Jaden.
He is. Very, very much so. So he's like your perfect assassin that you want to throw into your games. He can use his scouting and ambushing skills to kind of come in behind enemy lines, which is quite nice. He's also got a bonus that if he joins hunters for the Northern Alliance, and he gives them the scout ability as well, so he can bring them in on sort of behind enemy lines, as I was saying, kind of like attack you in the flanks and get to objectives and all that kind of thing. I really like to see someone do something different with the smoke that sort of is billowing up from like the cloak and stuff as well. Yeah. Maybe do sort of like a more of a magical effect potentially, or sort of like a midnight blue could be quite nice.
I think they've kind of gone with that because it has that. There's
a sheen to it,
there's a violet undertone
but
coming through.
But yeah, another fantastic miniature there as well. And then because
I'd love to see a Lloyd shot.
You will probably get one on the Corvus Belli site soon, I would imagine.
Okay.
But we didn't have them at this moment. There's also a set of the Orc officers, and again, you get a character with the main character energy alongside one that doesn't quite have it. So you have Lotta, who is leading the way. A lot of rage here. They're able to apply the raging status to those around them, and can also disarm opponents, which I think is quite cool as well. So you've got that bonus thing there as well to sort of stop them as you're diving into combat.
I generally remember rage being horrendous, and I didn't like it, which is why I had to set people on fire.
Which is why you need more of it, obviously. And then Lotta is backed up by the Prime Warrior, who increases the conquest value of your allied units, which is obviously great for sort of controlling the battlefield, and also increase the damage that you do as well with your units on the tabletop as well. So it's a really nice sort of boosting option for your forces. So obviously, as you can see from that, you've got the Northern Alliance who are really boosting the idea of being aggressive and forward-facing, whereas with the hegemony of Embasig, you've got slightly more of a defensive sort of morale-based element built into that.
Makes sense.
And then obviously Marhail, who's just running in, kicking ass and taking names, as you'd expect. So yeah.
Well, why would you not?
Exactly.
Look at him.
Yeah, but
he looks like a man who should be sent out to set fire to things.
Yes.
Keep him as far away from civilization as possible because he's gone wrong.
Which is why they sent him north.
Yeah.
But yeah, loads of stuff coming for Warcrow. Lots coming next year. They have plenty lined up. for the other factions. And of course, with Adepticon coming in the early portion of next year, we're going to see even more stuff released around then as well. So keep an eye out for what they've got in the works.
I do like how the Warcrow officers work. So they either offer a slight boost or a boon to your units in some distinction, or you can run them separate and they're a bit more hero hammery. But then obviously at the detriment to your units not being quite as buffed as they can be as well. So it gives you options to play with as well.
It does. Yeah.
Fun and games.
Before we move on, just going to say, a lot of the miniatures that saw there done with the new thermoplastic stuff. So it's sort of them experimenting, obviously, for people like Marhale, who are just wild and in all sorts of different poses. That's obviously done using the thermoplastics and things. So you got some fun bits and pieces in there as well for their new material.
Fancy Spency.
Does that biodegrade?
Maybe.
Kind of like the Seocast stuff. So maybe. Yes.
Similar.
It's not actually Seocast, but it's kind of like it.
Similar.
I suppose we'd have to find out.
What we'll do is we'll bury one and we'll come back to it in 50 years and we'll give people an update.
I guess
it's alive.
If we really struggled with it, we could feed it to rats.
Sure. You can feed lots of rats. Doesn't necessarily mean it's biodegradable.
Well, it comes out the other end. It's definitely not what it used to be.
That's interesting. Speaking of things that aren't what they used to be, King Arthur. King Arthur, he was a shiny clanker when I was a kid. These days, he's become all Romano-British. That's progress for you, they tell me. Anyway, Hail Caesar is getting a whole book from Warlord Games about it. And this is a fascinating little thing out of left field for your Arthurian battles. So they're releasing the Once and Future King. And as we all know from the X-Men films, that is the favorite book of both Xavier and Magneto. They're always reading the Once and Future King. So who knew they were wargamers? I'm presuming that they were just got an advanced copy of this through some sort of mutant mind bending. The book itself is, like I say, a supplement for Hail Caesar, so their mass battle game. It will allow you to play out a whole host of 6th/5th/7th century brackets delete as applicable battles, depending on where your Romano-British Arthur lands, against the Picts, the Saxons, the Beringans, the Celts, the Irish raiders, Welsh raiders. Maybe he's Welsh, who knows?
Anyone who isn't Arthur. anybody you fancy. There will be 12 battles in this for a campaign, which is fascinating. There was a Welsh historian who listed the 12 battles. His 12 battles, however, does not include Camlan, where Arthur dies. It's the 12 where Arthur won, although I think like 4 or 5 of them are all listed as the same Ford of Douglas or something. Anyway, yeah, so there's some flexibility because obviously they can't go back to historical records. This is all just based on various lies from various ages. But they've taken 12 battles, like I say, 4 of which is the same.
You say
and
12 battles. You say 12 battles that he won.
Yes.
Did he win them, or did he cheat and use magic the whole way through them?
Well,
like he might be disqualified if he's been using magic the whole time.
There's 2 ways to look at that. One is this is Hail Caesar, and therefore it's historic. And the second way to look at it is the heroes of Camelot do include Merlin, so cheating. Maybe that's why there were 4 of the same battle of that river, because every time he lost it, Merlin would use time shenanigans to replay the fight. It's like loading a saved game on Total War. Yes. It's like, you've lost again, Arthur. You suck. Reload. This set, which will be coming out along with it, is made from Warlord resin. Contains some of the notables. So Gawain, Guinevere, Galahad, Lancelot, Merlin, and then Morgana and Mordred, the sister/wife. And
Warlord resin.
Daughter, brother, son.
Is that biodegradable, or do we need to get the rats in for that too?
Yes. Everybody likes Warlord. It's like Seocast, but with a different name on it again.
Oh, there
Everybody
you go.
does it. It's more fun this way. But these are, I'm fairly certain I've seen that Merlin before, so I think these are
older.
Yeah, you see him every time you look in the mirror.
That have been Yes, dear. Have been
Jerry
Warlord
wears down the
Resnified. Added to which, I'm fairly certain that Merlin is a Colin Patton sculpt.
I think these might be Saxon, old Saxon.
The old Saxon miniature range. That would explain it. So great set of figures, very, very heavily leaning into the Romano-British aspects of Arthur. There's also going to be a set of metal heroes. So you can have Tristan, Percival, Kay, and the most important of all, the knights. And why is the most important of all the knights? Bors? Because he was played by both Ray Winston and Liam Neeson.
That's what I was about to say. Yes.
If there's any knight out there who's going to punch the world in the face, it's going to be Bors.
Who would have thought that he'd go on to run such a good gambling empire?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm very good at hunting down, people who kidnap his daughter as well. Arthur, you slag. Anyway, you'll be able to run a whole host of scenarios as either sort of a narrative campaign, or run them as one-shots as well via the upcoming Arthurian supplement. So it's interesting to see. Like I say, the 12 battles are a bit of a lie, and nobody really knows where they're from either. So some of the battles are listed as being like the River of Douglas, and people go, well, that's Scotland. And then other people go, no, that's this part in England. So you can fit your campaign in wherever you fancy against whoever you fancy playing against. And unlike a lot of other historical campaigns where you're going, well, this one was clearly at this river with these hills and a ford here, ... You don't have to worry about that. You really are just, you're playing a fictional narrative historical campaign. So it's very, very louche.
Yeah.
Very laissez-faire.
Also, if you do like those and you want to expand it even further, Wargames Atlantic have a really good set of
Romano-British
stuff, and you can also get loads of really nice stuff from Footsore as well. That is tied into Arthur and the Knights. So
it's true. I've got a whole Saga warband, for example, from Footsore as well. That would do the job. big set and Victrix. Yeah. Everybody does it. It's the nice thing about historics. You're not shy of finding a few.
Not restricted.
Yep. Yeah. So you can go here, there, and everywhere to lay your hands on them. Right. Sticking with the Dark Age, Ben.
Yes. And talking of Wargames Atlantic, we have a new set that is going to be coming out as part of the Vox Populi program that they've been working on recently. So everybody knows that people like building Dark Age warbands.
Yes.
And so this has been designed to do just that. This is their Dark Age army builder set that they're working on currently. The idea is that it'll come with 48 figures per set.
Late Romans
as
well,
yes. It's a good segue. So this comes with 48 figures per set. There are 8 core bodies included in there, alongside, as you can see, a lot of heads. And the whole idea is that it will allow you to make a whole bunch of different Dark Age armies for you to use on your games, not catered for by a lot of the other things. So obviously, if you've got Vikings and all that kind of thing, there's plenty of sets out there for you here. But this kind of deals with things like Goths, the late Romans, but in a different way, with the Ridge-style helmet, the Franks, the Spangen helms, and the Saxons are in there as well, with their lovely flat caps. I love those. They're brilliant. But yes, all you're going to need out of this set then is the additional weapon options. So this will also come with spears and swords alongside the shields, obviously.
Yep.
And because this is one of their Vox Populi sets. Oh, does it? I thought it comes with sword and
the shields aren't part of the set. I don't think.
What? I thought it was spears and swords and shields.
I don't think I'll have to double check.
Oh.
But because they already do the shields separately.
Oh, they do.
I think this is
accessory pack.
The idea behind this is to get your hands on a ton of cheap and cheerful figures that you don't have to build a load. Hence why all of those arms are going to be attached, just like the Prussian set.
Yes.
So you're not, if you're looking to build mass units for big games, you're not having to put 20 pieces together to make a model. It's one weapon arm on and a head arm and
that
a head on.
Sense.
And then if the unit has shields, depending on,
you can add them on if you want to.
You can add them on.
I see.
Don't 100% don't hold me to that, but I think I've seen that comment come up.
I think you're right, because
be separate.
But yeah, so you've got a great new set that's going to be going into production hopefully soon. The more people that sort of go in on the pre-order of this in the pre-production stage will be the ones that fund the actual production of it as a proper plastic set later on down the line.
Proper plastic. Take that, environment.
And hopefully, if this goes well, we'll see even more stuff coming out in the same vein. I would also say as well, if you like the look of this stuff, a lot of additional bits and pieces are available as part of the Atlantic Digital thing that they do over on My Mini Factory. So if you're looking for additional heads and weapons and all sorts of things, you can go and find some on there as well.
Speaking of heads, Hudson did ask last week if they might be able to get another set of heads on the sprue.
Oh.
Because they're not putting shields on, because the shields are already on a separate sprue. And therefore, what heads would you like? Some people have said the Romano-British, the felt cap, the flat top felt cap. So that one might be a possibility. Somebody else suggested like a Viking-style helm or spectacle helm, because obviously these will work for Goths, Vikings, Saxons, Franks, whatever, including Romano-British. So if you have a burning urge to have a specific head option stuck on that sprue as well, then go over to the Atlantic Legion or onto the forum and suggest what's wrong, Lloyd.
What? There's no bald guys.
No, all these
people
are
wearing hats. Most of them.
They've all kept their
hair.
They've all kept their hair. They don't need a bald guy. Every sprue does not need a bald guy. Male pattern baldness. Those people died out.
I think it didn't exist in the past.
I think they just were clever about hiding it. There's a lot of Charlton comb-overs going on there with those Saxon hats over the top.
But a great looking set. Be fun to see what they do with it. I really like the fact that all of the characters are screaming. It's fantastic because they're charging into battle.
There's some delightful faces on them, which is all good to see. Right. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at some plastic samurai. So then the Samurai Commanders are coming from FireForge. They're up for pre-order now. They had a successful Kickstarter, I would say 2 years ago, delivered last year / into this year, with all their multi-part plastics.
Sure it's 2 years ago? Feels like 2 months ago.
No, you're thinking of different times.
Time still hasn't caught up since the event.
No, it hasn't.
That's true.
Yeah. As we pointed out to people, it's been 5 years since the event.
Oh God!
It was its fifth anniversary. It was fifth anniversary in September. Yep.
Oh God!
But so it doesn't really exist anyway. A whole range of samurai, ashiguru, mounted and foot figures have been kicking around for a while now, and they've got these delightful commanders and officers up for pre-order. So these will be multi-part plastic again, containing a whole host of bits and pieces for you to make your command stands for games like L'Art de la Guerre, Hail Caesar, potentially, if they go out that way. You can use them for Clash of Katanas as well. So you'll be able to put together
Samurai Saga
whole set. Samurai Saga will come eventually. They just won't say when. But
they keep teasing us with it.
They do. They are tinkers like that. That's the French for you. But if you're looking to put together your daimos, you'll be able to do this. The box will contain 3 sprues. So you'll have your ashiguru, your samurai, and then a horse-based cavalry section.
Horsey sprue.
A horsey sprue, which means then you can do your sort of your heroes and leaders, whether they're carrying the massive sashimonos to let people know where your actual command stands are, whether they're equipped with a whole host of deadly weaponry like umbrellas and fans.
They really are a pain in the backside, these Japanese dudes. Pain in the behind. I had to buy all new plastic tubs to store my Japanese armies because of these tall banners. They're such pain.
Don't just magnetize them all. No.
They're such a pain.
But yeah, it's a fantastic set of figures.
It really is, yeah.
It's nice to see that they've gone with plastic, because previously FireForge did a lot of their character models and leader figures in resin. So you would get plastics, and then you would have to pick up some resin figures, and they were great.
They were dung. No, they weren't. The resin figures were dung. I didn't like mine. I got one that was full of bubbles. I was like, this is dung.
See, the ones I've held never had any bubblings. But to each their own. But yeah, if you're
just
after
doing it to spite Lloyd, that's what it was.
If you're after some nice,
doing it to spite Lloyd.
Right, let me rephrase that then. The one I got was dung. The rest were amazing, apparently.
You need to get out more, son. Send it back with criticisms attached. Did somebody put a straw in this resin and blow bubbles before you shipped it to me? I ordered a figure, not an aero bar. Anyway, as you can see,
wait,
there's a whole
what
slew
percentage
of
of bubbles does it have to have before it becomes dung? Like, how many bubbles?
If I can see any bubbles on the surface of the miniature, that's too many bubbles.
Oh, okay, there we go then. It's too many bubbles.
Too many
Fine
bubbles.
cast resin. Which bit in
I just wondered if there was like a tolerance level. Do you know the way if you order a TV with dead pixels, they try to scab you off and say, well, no, in the terms and conditions, it says you can have up to like 4 or 5 dead pixels before we'll replace it.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
That is a thing.
Wow.
That's terrible. I'd complain to somebody, Lloyd.
Did you buy any of this FireForge Samurai in the end, Lloyd?
No, I did not, because I got sent Samurai armies for Christmas.
Oh, yeah, and they were all full painted, weren't they?
Fully painted. It's outrageous.
Yeah.
Why do you think I had to go and buy plastic tubs? It's not like I built any armies.
Yeah. That's a foreign concept.
It's desperate concept is what it is. Anyway, so yeah, if you want to make some samurai Ashiguru commands, they're completely mixable with the current plastic range as well. So you'll be able to add in some extra sort of command figures into your units using the bits and pieces, because I'm sure the sprues will be packed when you get them. So pretty neat there if you're planning on doing samurai in the age of don't know what they're going to call it. Well, I assume they'll call it Age of Samurai. It would make sense. Who knows? We won't be alive when it comes out.
What is the age called where they were like, we're not going to talk to anybody else. We're just going to do our own thing.
Oh, that was all of it up until they were forced to open up by the Americans coming up alongside them, going, "We will nuke your cities." Over and over again.
Age of Saga, a time before Tom Cruise.
Yes. They will work for.
Got it.
I mean, they're good for any of the. Obviously, they aim at Sengoku, which is sort of 16th, 17th. But you could go back as far as
classic feudal Japan.
Yeah, you can go back as far as 12th. You may just have to make sure that you're not running a huge amount of black powder weaponry in there. But there's enough variation on those that you can easily run 12th century through to the 17th century with those comfortably. So, depending how you're feeling, go nuts. Right. Speaking of going nuts, it's time to break out the squats. Everybody's favorite army for 40k, which is therefore the one that you can't really get.
Yes, exactly. So Games Workshop bought out the squats for Necromunda, and then they released the Leagues of Votan for 140,000, who aren't really a proper army. No one really cares about them. They've got
I like them.
They've got a dozen.
Not enough to buy them. But I like them.
But returning to the classic squat, we've got a couple of new plastic sets coming up for the squats to dive into and use in their Games of Necromunda. So a lot of the other factions have had their elite units added in for you to use with your crews and your warbands or whatever. Now the squats are getting theirs, and these first ones.
Why are we talking about these? Did these not come out weeks ago?
No. These are last week.
Oh, okay.
So these are your Ironhead squat prospectors, and as you can see, and it's something that a lot of people have really enjoyed, they've actually got that cool kind of egg shape to them.
The classic,
very reminiscent of the classic squat. Exactly, yeah. That you will have seen pop up in old Hammer Kickstarter projects from people like Curious. So these are your Ironhead squat prospectors who are going to be rocking around in their exosuits in Hive Secundus and Hive Primus and the Ash Wastes. And in classic squat fashion, they use mining equipment that has been repurposed for destroying filthy peasants from different gangs. Because why would you invest in a new weapon when you have a hammer that can smash rock to pieces? Probably do the same to bone. And there's also a drill on the back.
There is. And we've seen how that worked in Total Recall. Those are vicious, those drills.
Yeah. So this is your set of the Ironhead squat prospectors. They come with a variety of different weapons, as you can see
Clamps.
there. As I say, all designed clamping, all designed for mincing people and
My
also
goodness.
minerals.
They're very drill focused, aren't they?
Oh yes, they do love a good drilling.
Little
Big
sneaky
fans of,
dudes.
Driller Killer.
Yes.
I liked these.
The little tech mites.
Yeah, I like
the little
them.
robot excavators.
I like the fact that they've got like little hook things you can see as if they're going to be lifted up by cranes and things.
They're very cool. They're very utilitarian, very kind of factory-esque. Sort of fits in with the idea of that kind of classic squat, which I think is really nice as well. And again, just something a little bit different from the way that they try to take the leads of Votann in general, I think, which is, well, some like it, some don't, as we say.
I also like that it has one eye rather than two.
Yes, little tiny beady robot eye. Yeah, it's very cool.
I feel more comfortable telling it off with one eye.
Because it's got no depth perception. Therefore, it's unlikely to be able to hit you from range.
I know your search history, Lloyd. Alongside the Ironhead Squat Prospectors, who are kind of like your elite options for you to throw into your warbands, there was also a second release that came out recently, preview anyway, for a new set of trike-based squats, again going back to the kind of badass retro look.
I didn't see these
squats from back in the day. So these are rocking around on their awesome vehicles with a variety of different weapon options that you can sort of bolt onto them. So you've got the option to give them auto guns, bolt guns, and melter guns for you to use in your games. And obviously, as I say, the trike vibe is sort of carried through from Oldhammer, but with a slightly more new look to it, as you can see by the slightly sleeker design. But they're also backed up by tech mites, the oculi, that you can see hovering around in the background, still with one eye, who will be scouting enemies. They won't tell you how far away they are, but they'll scout where they are.
It's very decent of them, I feel.
And they will let you hunt them down as you're driving around. And obviously these are designed to fit in with the other vehicles from the Ash Wastes as well. So a really nice little couple of sets there, both done in hard plastic rather than resin, which is obviously nice to see. And they can be bolted on to the existing squats that you can get for Necromunda. Throw them into your games and have fun, as I say, in Hive Primus, out in the Ash Wastes, or in Hive Secundus, where a lot of the new narrative is currently.
Wouldn't it be a pain in the butt, though, to try and drive your trike through the Hive and you get the doors that you can't fit through?
Well, that's why they're not for the Hive.
What? They're not?
These are for out in the Ash Waste when you're driving around in open areas. They're not for driving down corridors. Although you could, I guess.
Yeah, well, it'd be a lot more fun.
It would be. Yeah.
It's Necromunda.
Yeah, but you have to remember, somebody seen Mad Max. Yes. And then they went, we should do Mad Max. And they went, no.
Yeah.
Went, but we could with Necromunda. But isn't Necromunda a Spire?
Well, that's Hive Primus. We could go out into the Ash Wastes.
Where the Nomads live.
That's what they did.
Remember when we had Nomads? Remember?
Yeah.
I remember.
We've got loads of cool insects now. But yeah, so really fun stuff there for the squats. I know a lot of people are going to be picking these up and using them as equivalents in the Leagues of Votann army because they don't like the look of some of the vehicles and stuff they've done in that, which I think is a nice way of taking things. So yeah,
I look forward to them going the whole hog and putting these squats and exo armor on trikes, which was an option back in Rogue Trader and second edition. So
very cool.
Yes, when you want 2d6 worth of armor save coming at you at pace, put on a trike.
That's it. My Scottish comedian's going to run you over.
Billy Connolly, God bless him. Right, that's not all we have.
Have you seen how old he's got? He looks even older than you now, Jerry.
That is what happens with aging. We're not all Benjamin Button, you know. Right, we have one more bit of 40k-esque news with a new kill team.
So yeah, sort of out of the blue, we got the announcement that they were going to be doing a new Kill Team starter set for Warhammer 40,000. Now, obviously, the Hive Storm box set is on the way and sort of out in the world as well. So if you wanted to get your hands on Vespid and the Tempestus Aquilons, you can do that. But Games Workshop are also doing this starter set, which is a kind of entry point into playing Kill Team with sort of cut down rules and scenarios and all that kind of thing. Now, there's some bits in this that will be familiar to a lot of people. So obviously you get the new starter handbook, which will give you all the kind of basic rules for playing the game. And also you're going to get 2 complete kill teams to use as well, alongside all of their rules. So on the one side of things, actually, we'll talk about the rules first. So yes, on the rulebook side of things, it comes with sort of like a few select changes that they've done so that it's not the full kill team experience, but it'll give you all of the basics so that you know how to dive in and start playing. Mm-hmm. You also get all of the tokens and everything else that you need, including the widgets that actually have distances on them now, not just shapes, which is good.
I missed the black bisector.
You think that people missed it, Games Workshop, but when you first put out this image, it had the wrong token sheet on it. I saw, but they changed it, and then I was like, crap.
Did they have their wooden prototype on it?
No, it had all the Vespid symbols on it. Oh, so it was clearly from the old set. But yeah, so the starter set will come with a series of scenarios for you to play through that will teach you how to play the game as well. And it's all part of this one campaign that sees the fighting between the Space Marines and the Plague Marines. The two sets that you get, the Space Marine side of things comes with your kind of classic intercessors alongside the captain that you can see there. There's also an eliminator with a sniper rifle at the ready and also a fellow rocking a heavy bolter with the Gravis armor that you tend to see nowadays as well. These are all actually miniatures, and this goes for both the sets from the old Warhammer Heroes boxes that they used to do. So these will be familiar to a lot of people in Japan, of all places.
These were the blind buy things that people were always trying to find.
Yeah. So they're now available as push fit miniatures in this set.
How annoyed will you be if you ordered loads of boosters from Japan at extraordinarily large knock-up value just to find out you could have just bought them in one without duplicates?
Yep. So yes, these are now available as one of the kill teams. On the other side, we have one of the, I think it's actually a really nice kill team, is the Plague Marines one. And this comes with a variety of Plague Marines, as you might imagine, alongside sorcerers and all that kind of stuff, all in unique poses, ready to dive in and cause chaos. Sow chaos, I suppose, on the tabletop in your games of Kill Team. As I say, both of these Kill Teams will come with sort of starter rules for Kill Team in this box set, but they will also get full Kill Team rules for later as well. So if you want to use them in your full games against other squads that people have, I can't say Kill Team again, other squads that people have, you'll be able to drop them in and have some fun with them later on as well. So it's a nice stepping stone for people to dive in and play some Kill Team. The twist in this box set, and something that nobody had thought, is that if you go back and look at the actual box set, Jerry, just the full box set, look at that. You'll see that the terrain that they've got on there looks awfully different from a lot of the normal plastic stuff that Games Workshop do. That's because it's not plastic. This is the first time in forever, in fact, ever, that Games Workshop is doing MDF screen printed terrain.
Oh, bloody environmentalists.
Now, this is obviously a big change. Makes sense for a starter set. If you've got people diving in for the first time, they don't want to have to paint both the kill teams or one of the kill teams and all the terrain at the same time. So this just makes a lot of sense for you to throw into a game. You'd think that this would also mean that the price point for the kill team is going to come down.
Yes.
I doubt it will because it's Games Workshop, but we'll see. The other thing that would be really nice if this becomes available beyond just the kill team set. Because if they make sets like this available and people snap them up, I can see a lot of people who are just getting into Warhammer.
But getting
their hands on this.
Let me just stop you there. Look at it.
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't look any better than you just dry brushed your own stuff.
I think it looks better.
There's no more color in that, realistically, than if you just primed your stuff and quickly dry brushed it.
But there's more detail.
Brown around the edges.
There's no.
Yeah.
That's extra color.
That's what it is.
And you don't have to build and paint this. You just slot it together and away you go. And it flat packs away.
Do you know what will happen if this well, I suppose on the plus side, if this stuff does come out separately, we might see the end of Warhammer tournaments with just what is it there? Cereal white
boxes.
polystyrene
yes.
and cereal boxes and books.
I don't know if you'll see a huge amount of this outside of it for two reasons. One, laser cutting setups are not something that GW has used before. So somebody is producing this for them.
They've outsourced this, yeah.
Secondly, the weight of this compared to plastic is substantially bigger, which means Shipping isn't going to be a difference because it'll be container shipped anyway. So volume, you might get more in volume wise, but final destination shipping.
Do we know if it comes on a big sheet? You have to pop it all out, or does it come pre-popped?
You have to pop it out.
All right, so it has all the additional weight of being still in the framed.
You can see the bits where they popped it
on the end. Yeah.
No, but somebody else could have pre-popped it. I just wondered if they're not going to
pay that. There's no way they're paying for somebody to pop those things out first.
You are chief popper.
What? Even from China?
Yep. I'm definitely, interesting that they'll do it in here. I think they might keep it for something like starter sets and possibly look for a lower price point because they're not doing the additional plastic. But I can't see them doing a wholesale swap to laser printed MDF simply because of the cost.
I think if they were to do it, they'll keep a lot of their plastic stuff that they do individually for sort of larger pieces. But I could see them potentially doing a selection of these smaller sets for you to pick up that tie into their smaller games like Kill Team and Warcry. But I have no faith that Games Workshop will make them viable as a product because I imagine these are going to be as quite expensive anyway compared to you going and buying the MDF, screen printed MDF from another company that does exist out there already who will do it for a better price. So, it's either going to be, if they don't price it right, it'll just be a mistake and it'll be worthless. And they'll put it in the start and they'll go, we'll never do that again. but we'll see. So,
does Arsenal do any 40k style stuff, or they just do Infinity stuff with their
mostly
pre-printed
Infinity stuff? But a lot of their pre-print stuff's Infinity anyway. But
they're all the same. Once it gets sci-fi, it's all the same.
Oh yeah. It's a Tau world.
It's like all there. Look, here's humanity if the God Emperor hadn't gotten involved with their flying cars and stuff. Everything's so much better. He's just the worst. That guy is just the worst. Absolute worst. Yeah. Anyway, enough of the news.
Damn space Jesus.
Let's press on and take a look at what's happening in the world of 3D printing and some Kickstarters as well to round out the show. Okay, then we're ready to take a look at some 3D printing, and it comes via Cringer. No? Sorry. Yes, when he holds the sword aloft, he's no longer Cringer, he's BattleCat. That makes more sense.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I'm hoping for nothing but 80s retro cartoons in 3D file.
Unfortunately, not quite.
Not quite?
But
it looks very historical based.
I suppose if you asked. Maybe.
I'm not seeing any ripping muscles here at all.
No, not at all.
What's going on here? Is there a He-Man connection somewhere?
No. So this is BattleCat miniatures. That's the only connection. And this is their collection of historical miniatures that they have over on My Mini Factory. And as you can see, they have a fairly substantial collection of different eras that they have dived into and made miniatures for. Yes, there is a lot for you to get your hands on. A lot of it is really nice because it's kind of sort of edge cases and fringe armies and things that you wouldn't necessarily get in sort of regular plastic. And so they've come in and they've designed some really fun little bits and pieces that will help you fill in the gaps, which I think is a really nice way of doing things. And it's one of the benefits, obviously, of 3D printing and sort of working in this medium as well, is that you can dive in and do some really fun stuff. Like this, which is very good.
Have your fighter and your downed fighter with crew.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's fancy. I was thinking the same thing, but I wasn't going to make the noise.
Someone's got to do it.
It's pretty exaggerated looking, isn't it?
Well, slightly
panels.
Yeah. It looks a lot like you could turn it into an Orc fighter jet, is what I hear you saying. So
that's pretty much it right there.
But there's a couple of different periods that I wanted to zone in on. One of the first of these is the Napoleonic stuff, because I do like seeing what people do on that front. And they have endless oodles of armies for you to dive into and build up in a variety of different ways, covering various nations and everything else in between as well. They've got all of your standard line infantry alongside command elements and cavalry, and they cover, again, lots of the different elements that you need for setting up your army. So you've got your French casualties, your Russian casualties, all your command options, different head variants as well, based on the different caps and hats that they would have been wearing at the time, which is always good. Oh, look, Napoleonic Rust. Are they filth?
Yes. Yes, they are.
They are equally as filthy.
Always filthy. Although I will say, if you're going to do any cavalry for the Napoleonic period, there's so much fun to be had with the hussars because of their outfits. It's worth having a nosy through and seeing what ones are out there. I particularly like the teal and yellow, which I painted on one of our hussars for Silver Bayonet at one point. But that's early Napoleonics. It's like up to the 1813. Then they changed a very dull grey affair. No, not at home to that. Anyway.
Yeah.
No, they were nice when they had the feathers.
Yes.
They feel really nice, Ben. If you go into the library, or not library, if you go to the museum, you can
go to the museum,
like
where
nobody's
touch
looking,
all the
touch
stuff.
them.
Yeah.
Touch the feathers. Oh. But their Napoleonic focus is very much on that French-Russian conflict at the moment. I'm sure more stuff will come down the road anyway, but it's looking really nice. Lots of detail in the sculpts, lots of action in there as well. I like that all their cavalry is for the most part charging, which is always nice.
Not the high commando,
they're horses.
They're clever.
As Jerry clicks on a picture,
Well, yes.
Nobody's charging.
I mean, we looked at some earlier that would
charge. These guys are in charge. There's difference.
There we go.
In charge, not charging.
Important distinction to
They
make.
sit on a hill, tell people where to go. You go to hell. You go to hell and you die.
The second collection that I thought was really cool is their early Crusade stuff. So again, might appeal to you.
It's got three packs.
Ooh.
Yeah. And also, you never know, Jerry. You could always, dive in, do medieval. I know you've been, wanting to, but no, right?
What is your aversion to medieval? Is it too close to your
period?
To your
he doesn't want another period. That's what he doesn't want to do more historical.
It's nothing to do with being close to my birthday. Shut up.
But they've got a really nice selection of sort of alternative bits and pieces in there. So you have your exactly, yeah. You have a lot of the other bits and pieces for the Byzantines in there as well. So if you wanted to go down that route, you've got them. There's even lots of the Christian stuff as well. So if you're coming from Europe and you want to cause a bit of a ruckus, you can go lads on tour to the Holy Land and get the beers in. as you raid the various cities of
get the beers in
the Middle East.
He screams. Get the beers in.
That's what Deus Vult means, right? Get the beers in.
Get the beers in. It very much means that.
Yeah. But again, really nice sculpts, really nice sets that they've designed. That will be just a really nice option for you to throw in and build alongside the rest of your armies. The scale of these looks about right, I'd say, to... I think you probably get away with having these against Victrix stuff. I know they tend to be slightly slender, slightly more slender.
Well, these are pretty chunky looking compared to Victrix.
I still think they'd still work out okay. I think they'd sit quite nicely with...
Victrix,
I think it's mainly because of the posings.
Relatively chunky anyway.
Yeah.
They're not as slender as you think.
They're not chunky. They're bigger.
Yeah.
Same difference.
In which case you can print whatever you want. And just go nuts that way. These guys, these are interesting, especially because if people were paying attention to Victrix on Tuesday,
when they showed off what was coming,
they showed off Crusader era Islamic heads.
They did.
So I will say I do have 28mm Crusader army and a 28mm start of a 28mm Islamic army for Saga anyway. So it's not I don't want to do medieval. I don't want to do late medieval.
Right.
Let's make that distinction. When we hit the 1400s, I tune out. So that's how you tune out still, isn't it? You turn a knob on your TV.
Last but not least,
yes.
I wanted to have a look at another one of the eras that I know a lot of people are very familiar with. That's World War II. And again, they've done a variety of different ones. We obviously saw some of the planes that they've been working on earlier when Jerry was flicking through the rest of their site there, but they've got all the sort of options that you want to dive into.
You can do Anzacs.
Yeah, different squads. So you got your Anzacs and all that kind of stuff in there as well. I really like the planes. I think the planes are really nice.
I want to see look at the guns.
Oh, look at a gun in a minute.
The guns for Lloyd.
I need to have a look at a Focke-Wulf.
Oh, yes.
Again,
Don't need to bleep that. That's a real word.
I like how they've done. I like how they do the destroyed with the crew alongside the in working order, shall we say?
Yes.
Which means you can do your airfields, or you can have them on stands for doing little sort of dogfighting or bombing runs or whatever they happen to be up to.
Yes.
Or you can set them up as scenarios, objectives, terrain. Not enough smash things on the ground. They're cool.
Well, I kind of like the airplanes. They look a little bit exaggerated, but it's maybe right. I don't know. But in the pictures, look a little exaggerated. But it's great if you want to scale them down because of that.
Yeah.
Sometimes the exaggeration you only see in the render, and then once they've been produced, once you've actually printed them, you lose that exaggeration because there's always a bit of softening / shrinkage. You don't get the super fine, deep cuts. So it's like plastic miniatures. They have to sort of over exaggerate. Otherwise, you lose it all. It becomes very soapy when you make it. If you have it perfect on the render, so it'd be interesting to see some of them actually printed to see whether or not they are still as sharp an incision, shall we say, on some of the panel lines, or if that sort of blends away whenever they're actually printed out.
Yeah, I will say one of the nice things that they've done as part of this collection, and obviously you've been dabbling in the Polish arena recently, Jerry. They actually do proper full-on Polish World War II home army style Polish stuff as well, and all sorts of bits and pieces.
Polish World War II, early war the best, but best bet.
They've got a Polish 7TP as well, so there's a tank in there, which is always nice to see as well. So they do loads of bits and pieces on that front, and obviously if you're fighting in the Pacific with your Australians, put another
shrimp
mortar on the Barbie.
How could you?
How could you what?
How could you?
How could you look at me?
Did you have an intrusive thought, Lloyd?
I was thinking about the Emu Wars, but then I wasn't sure if it was New Zealand or Australia.
It's Australia.
It's Australia.
How could you lose the Emu War if you've got mortars?
Because you run out of ammo eventually.
Yeah, emus don't sit still in a trench waiting for you to drop a mortar on them. They're coming charging at you over the horizon. Just feathery death.
The dust obscures them as well. Yeah.
What was I looking for? You want guns?
Polish.
Was that it?
Oh, Polish and guns. Yes.
Where'd you see a gun? And by gun, do you mean artillery piece? Support guns? Those, right.
Big ass guns. Look at that big ass gun there.
This type of thing.
On the far left, that's one. Yeah.
Well, these are German Luftwaffe, right, so they're far right. Yo, 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 yo.
Satire.
Oh, that's a hell of a breach on that gun.
There it is. Yeah.
I wonder what that is. What are you? I know you said you were a Luftwaffe field gun. You're not going to tell me what you are. I've never seen a breach like that. I've seen plenty of guns of that ilk, sort of the range schleppers and your 150 mils and 126s, but that the big baffle on the breech is a new one on me. I do like the big, thick cast wheels as well.
Yeah, so I'd totally stick that in a Creed army.
When you're shelling the living bejesus out of a French village / city 3 miles away, you want something that's a bit robust.
Not going to see that rolling very far.
No, it won't. Yeah. Go on then. Oh, sweet. Like candy.
Yay.
I tell you what.
What an awesome little set.
See that crew? You could, no word of a lie, take those, paint the helmets white, paint their uniforms in like a vibrant orange, and just put them straight into something like Stargrave.
Oh, yeah.
Without anybody blinking an eye at their equipment and outfit.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
Then a lot of
What's with the big bit at the front? Is that extra armor on their helmets?
I think so, yeah. Just like the ridgeline on it. Because they have that 50s/60s sci-fi where they were just reusing World War II and early 50s uniforms and outfits. You know, like Boba Fett and friends were all wearing like high altitude aircraft pilot outfits and stuff like that. So this would be spot on for that. But I digress.
And you two can twist the turret off when the tank gets destroyed. Oh, and then replace it with the destroyed version.
Replace it with exploded ones. It's already sliced for easier printing.
Very true. Yeah. But no, some really nice stuff in there.
He's bumped his winky.
If you just hold it straight, it'll heal itself.
Just a couple of splints on it and off you go.
True that.
Yep.
we are not doctors.
I went full Motley there. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So as well as all of that, BattleCat have a whole bunch of other bits and pieces in there as well, which you can go and find for yourself. They've got 7 Years War, American War of Independence, War of Spanish Succession, and the Great Northern War as well in there at the same time. And obviously, they have campaigns that they run on Patreon and all that kind of thing. So you can dive in every month and get your hands on even more miniatures to print off at home.
If you're doing the Great Northern War, you're practically doing English Civil War.
Yes.
You can chuck those in. Just paint some of those Swedes up like the royalist fellas and off you pop. Right. Enough 3D printing. We have some Kickstarters to round out the show, and we're going to be starting off with Shadowcurse.
Yes. So this one comes from the folks at Crippled God Foundry, who do some absolutely amazing stuff. They are back for, I think it's their 7th campaign, which is called Monster Slayers Shadowcurse. And this is a proper big dark fantasy Kickstarter for you to dive into. Much like their previous campaigns, they have provided folks with a new module that sits alongside 5th edition and 5.5, although of course wizards don't call it that, but there we go, it's called 5.5, where you'll be diving into the cursed realm of Sezik, not Chezik, as I've also heard people say, where you'll be, go to Chezik, where you'll be looking to stop a curse and killing the various monsters that are plaguing the land. So this full module can be picked up as either a PDF, so a digital format, or you can get it in physical format as a proper lovely book, alongside a variety of other props for you to use at the tabletop and maps and all that kind of good stuff. Inside, you'll find loads of additional bits and pieces, including the adventure for making new characters or using pre-gens, alongside a variety of different monsters as well. And talking of monsters, the other element of this campaign, and one of the elements that I think a lot of people are going to be diving in when it comes to this one, is the miniatures that they're doing for this as well. So all of the different creatures that you're going to be running into throughout the course of your standalone campaign in Shadowcurse are represented by 3D printed, 3D printable miniatures, as you can see here, as part of the campaign. So you've got loads of different options, all set to different environments within the Sezik lands that you'll be sort of adventuring around. So you get big, nasty monsters, giants, cruel, twisted, dark fantasy witches and wizards, alongside a variety of different terrain pieces for you to plop down on your maps as well, like those battle maps that you see there.
Top.
You'll see bigger miniatures further on down the page.
Yes. One of the other nice things about this campaign as well is that, as well as making sure that all of the different encounters are catered for with various miniatures, so you could dive in and just print off what you need at a given moment. So maybe next week you're going to be doing Encounter 4, and that requires you to get up the stuff from the Riverlands or whatever. You can go and just download and print those and get them ready for the tabletop. They also are making all of the miniatures available as physical miniatures as well, which they'll print and send to you. Now, that's part of a larger bundle. That's one of the pledge levels that you can dive into lower down the page and stuff. But that is an option if you don't have access to a 3D printer for you to go and check out. It is an absolutely chock-a-block campaign packed with various miniatures in that dark fantasy ilk. The thing that I really like about this is that while obviously you could use these for playing out Monster Slayer Shadowcurse and this adventure, there's no reason why these couldn't be fitted into the myriad of
Trench Crusade,
other indie fantasy, sci-fi, sci-fantasy games as well.
What's the scale of Trench Crusade? Because like further on down, you can see a chart, and these minis are like 40 millimeters to the eye.
Yeah, so Trench Crusade is
it's 3D. You can print it wherever the hell you want.
So Trench Crusade, off the top of my hat, is 28 to 32, but basically 28 heroic. So, I mean, obviously you could fit these in if you just did a little bit of scaling and tweaking.
Yeah, but for the monsters, you don't need to worry about that.
Well, no, they're as big as they are. Yes.
And even things like Doggerland or any of the other creepy, weird stuff that's out there at the moment. Throw some of these things in place of scarecrows for Silver Bayonet.
Yes, very
the
much so.
Creepy Mothmen.
And the Mothmen.
They're not right. Like the Blood-Based Terror, the Hammer Horror classic.
Yeah. But as you can see, as Jerry's scrolling through this, each of these is labeled with a particular sort of enviro they'd be in. So like for the Dread Plains bits, when you get into that part of your adventure,
horror,
you just make sure you've got those printed so you can dive in and play against those particular boss creatures and stuff. I think it's a really good way of doing things because it means that they can suit the you can suit the
environment
the environment,
flora and fauna that you're going to find.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it means that someone's not diving into their collection and going, well, this kind of looks like a Wendigo or a Forest Hag. Let's use this. You can sort of have everything in one place. The Chosen is also their set of hero miniatures. So they come as pre-generated ones in the set if you want to just play with them.
Mm-hmm.
But you could also just use these as the backdrop to your own character of your own invention effectively. But again, they're themed to the world that Crippled God has made. So they have that kind of dark fantasy, sort of Dark Souls, Elden Ring feel to them, which I think is quite nice. The terrain is one of the elements that I think a lot of people are really excited by.
It's the Black Magic Craft game.
Yes. Ooh.
Where you're collecting souls in the Netherworld.
Yes. I've forgotten the name.
Yeah, so far.
Idols of Torment, and you have to shout it. Because it's all in capitals. But yeah, gorgeous stuff. As you can
I'm getting Castle Skeletor vibes off that skull, though.
Yes, very true. Yeah, you could have done a bit of renovation.
I mean, it's not many miles away from just the entrance to Castle Grayskull itself, to be perfectly honest.
Paint it in retro colours, and away you go. So,
yep, paint it up in like green. Yes. Green with purple shadows off you.
Yo, Bangla!
Remind me, who lived in Castle Grayskull?
Sorceress.
The Sorceress, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And then He-Man just came and visited.
Yeah. Just popped in every now and again. Creepy trees.
I mean, he did have a palace to live in, so I don't know why.
Well, that is true, yeah. Didn't need to worry about it too much.
Very true.
You two can have your end-of-level bosses.
There you go. So
fancy,
get an eye out for how they all fit together. But yeah, really cool campaign. Dive in if you're a role player.
I assume that chat chart shows you what size they'll be if you get the pre-printed
physical
ones
versions.
From them.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if you go for one of
it's
these
like the one
down
right
here
at the
somewhere.
bottom, I think. Yeah. And it might seem like a big investment, but for the amount of stuff that you're getting, including how big all this stuff is, I think it's pretty good. So
pledge, blah blah blah. Physical books. There is a limit on the amount of physical pledges they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Limited to 10. So if you're not getting a 3D printer for Christmas, you may want to look at that one sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
I wonder why they've limited it to 10. Are they like, oh, this will be a pain in the ass if we sell loads of these?
Probably it.
Yeah. It's probably because their mate Steve probably gone, what?
Yeah.
How much electricity?
Well, timing, even considering how many miniatures and terrain pieces there are to print, and then they've got to print, if it's taken them X number of days / weeks to print those, then presumably multiply that by 10. And they'll not want to be dragging on into the end of next year to supply people because they've only got 3 printers running. Anywho, there you go. Already massively funded. And you've got a whole 18 days left on it if you fancy getting involved with that one. Now, sticking with fantasy, but much less grim, much more fun. It's everybody's favourite. It's Terry Pratchett's Discworld.
Yay!
God bless us.
This might be because me and Jerry really like it.
Yes. This is 100% why this is here.
Yeah.
I'll pop that on, even though I know it's mostly it's Python-esque in its intro as they play kazoos and explain what is going on in the world. But for people who are unaware of Britain's most shoplifted author and his Discworld series, it's a trope of all fantasy books. It is a world that is flat, just like our own, and it's on the back of 4 elephants which stand on the back of Great Ituan, the star turtle, as it swims through the cosmos There are many other worlds out there that are fantasy-based, but none that require an elephant to lift its leg twice a day to allow the moon and sun to go past.
That's it. Wouldn't flat earthers be surprised if they discovered all that stuff under?
I recently seen somebody suggest that if the world is flat, maybe dinosaurs live on the other side, and that all the time we dig up dinosaur bones, it's just the buried dead of the dinosaur on the other side. So, I mean, I've not heard of flowers that dispute that yet. Anyway, this is specifically Adventures in Ankh-Morpork, the city of 1 million inhabitants that live out their lives in the disc itself. So, while it is an RPG and therefore you can go off-piste with it, they have primarily focused on building up the rich environment of Ankh-Morpork to allow you to play around with your Discworld adventures within the city. It is a city of 1 million inhabitants, which should not function.
Funny you should say 1 million. They're nearly at 1 million.
Yeah.
I seen it, 900,000.
Yeah, I know. It's good times. Roll on more stretch goals for me and Ben.
Yeah. Yeah. Full disclosure.
Yeah. So it's the only reason if anything goes into the Kickstarters is just because I want stuff. The artwork is all coming via the medium of Paul Kidby. And they've got a team working away to try and realize Terry Pratchett's unique sartorial vision of fantasy. Because when it started off, it was Discworld and Ankh-Morpork itself was more your traditional feudal fantasy. And over time, it sort of has moved into a more Georgian aesthetic. It's a bit more Blackadder than Conan, although Conan could quite happily visit Blackadder in Ankh-Morpork and it would not look out of place, which is key.
Why does it say artwork to be confirmed, though?
Because that GM screen has not got the confirmed artwork that's going to be on it yet.
Oh, it's just the GM screen they're messing with. It's not all
Although
of
that
stuff.
would be quite a funny thing if it came with...
And to be fair, there's a Monty Python Kickstarter coming to me that had stuff like that in it. The headline entertainment. Kidby's gone for an Escher-esque view of Ankh-Morpork for the collector's edition, which also comes as the artwork with it. And you can see a whole cornucopia of characters from the Discworld. So you see things like the dragon, that obviously people will know from Guards, and you'll see Death on his motorcycle from Soul Music, and I mean
the being from the random Temple of Beyond, from Color of Magic,
from Color of Magic. So there's a whole host of characters. There'll be nods throughout all over the place anyway that you'll spot. But it's all about doing those comic adventures. And the interesting thing is how they've tried to pitch it. Terry always said the Discworld is a comedy, but it's not funny to the people living in it. And that's probably the best way to approach it, because when you get a group around the table, they tend to start having a lot of fun, frolicking around, that sort of thing. And they'll start to have laughs, even if you're trying to run a serious fantasy game. And just do it like that. You run if it's a murder investigation, then your players are all guards, then it's still a murder at the end of the day, despite the fact that there might be fun and frivolity kicking off around the place. Trying to shoehorn in comedy into a Pratchett world doesn't make sense. Because it's more how the characters interact and get on. But you've got a whole city, well, 2 cities, in fact, Ankh and Morpork, to play through. One is a richer side, one's a much shadier side. There's a quick start guide that you can download, and it has some interesting bits in it. So
it's very good. Yeah.
There is a thing, a Pratchettism, where 1 million to 1 shots are rare, but they also come up 9 times out of 10. So if one of your players comes up with something that is either so absurd or so elaborate that you think it would be 1 million to 1 shot, then just let them succeed. However, any player attempting to force 1 million to 1 shot should be shot down immediately, like Sergeant Cullen, with one eye covered with a handkerchief, standing on one leg on top of a tower, trying to shoot it while singing the national anthem. It's just not the same. So it's a fascinating world to play in, and the work that's going into it to focus into just Ankh-Morpork makes a lot of sense, because it's such a rich world. If you happen to be a massive Pratchett fan and have access to the maps and stuff, there's no reason why you can't go beyond the walls. The gates are never closed, because it would stop people coming in and shopping. So it can just be a stepping stone. But this campaign is for the core game in both PDF and physical form. There's a couple of different flavors. You can get the regular, or you can get the sexy shiny one with the Kitby artwork on the front cover. And they're also doing a scenario book called The Big Wahoonie, which is Ankh-Morpork's name, like the Big Apple, except smells funny. And people don't like the taste. So I may or may not have read a Pratchett book on occasion. So there are obviously stretch goals at go-go. They're already fully funded and smashing their way through everything at a rate of knots, which means they're just adding more content to the book, really. So you'll be able to find out about the guilds, which are an intrinsic part of Ankh-Morpork, which means you can be, a thief, a beggar, an assassin, a seamstress. Not a fireman, though. No firemen allowed. Don't pay people to put out fires. Otherwise you end up with Ash Tuesday.
Salesman.
Yes. These are all doable. And I mean, a lot of these will be for Pratchett fans will be going, oh, well, this is all really nice. I like that. For people who aren't Pratchett fans, I know one, and I've not pushed him into a river yet, which shows remarkable restraint on my behalf. It's a fantastic fantasy world, and you don't have to run it as a comedy. You can just run it straight. It contains dwarves. It contains goblins, trolls. Technically, there are elves. You don't want to see them. There are unseen creatures from beyond the veil, and the magicians do their level best to keep them out by not doing any magic at all. It's not to say you don't find people who do magic. So, all of these things, dragons, elves, dryads, they're all about, and they can all be interacted with and be sold products.
Oh, they added luck token? Oh, man. I want
Yes. Yes, they did. Don't worry about it. Now, see, the badge number is 244. So it's Vime's number. That's which is cool. Mm-hmm. Anyway, there are add-ons available if you just want to grab one of the smaller ones with the PDFs and pick up the bits and pieces you want. The Octarine dice set is very nice. I will not be buying the multiple sets for everybody at my table. They can jog on. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be an expansive view of Ankh-Morpork. And considering it was a world that was mapped, and a city that was mapped by somebody who sat down one day with Pratchett's books and went, I reckon I could draw a map of what you've written. I tell you what, I don't think you can because I never used a map. But it shows just how much has gone in there that you can go, well, we can go down Short Street and we can take a left here and go into this street and you can traverse this as if it was a real place. London hasn't got a patch on it, really. Will be coming in a variety of languages as well, which is good because not everybody speaks English as a first language, and I know sometimes rules can lose something in the translation. So being able to just grab it in your own is particularly good. I know at least one pun dancer out there who's a Pratchett fan. So having a German version will be very handy, though apparently some of the jokes were changed in other translations.
Oh, right.
Because things that make sense to native English speakers and people from the UK don't make sense when you go abroad. You go, no, that's weird. So I wonder if they'll do tweaks like that as well, or if they'll just go, no, that's too much effort.
I would also say that because it's not necessarily mechanically heavy, I think they can get around the fact that they can do the translations without having to really having to think about how to word particular mechanics to make them make sense. I think because there's more of a focus on the storytelling and the narrative side of things, it leaves them to just have a lot more fun with, bringing the world to life in different ways. So, yeah, very good.
Cracking stuff.
Can't wait.
Yes. It'll be, maybe, ambivalent.
I would say the mechanics is the bit that translates the easiest.
Yeah.
It's when you try to bring any sort of story or humor over and you go, this saying just doesn't work in this language.
Exactly.
We have to change this.
Yeah, which is why there are changes in foreign languages. So it'll be, like I say, it'll be interesting to see whether or not they do that or whether they go for a straight translation across into just the other languages they're dealing with. But time will tell. There is 20 days left on it. It is funded. I don't know what else they can add. But we never got to find out what they were planning.
Cover art.
I'm getting the collector's edition.
That bloody screen.
Draw, kid, be draw.
Draw faster, man. Draw faster. Yeah. It will be fascinating. There was always the potential for an underground system based on Thud.
Ooh.
Remember, they found the device and they had the dwarven mines that were all built throughout, and Terry never added to that because dementia kicked in, unfortunately, so he never got to expand. But clearly there was a plan for that. So if they don't add an underground, I'll be adding an underground at some point. Anyway, I digress. That's neither here nor there. Don't worry about that. 20 days left. Right. We have a final Kickstarter to take a look at, and it's a quick one, and it's a touch of the Grimdark for the Tales of the Old World. And this is a follow-up from Giuseppe for some Mordheim equivalent figures. He'd previously done a whole boatload of spanking gorgeous Bretonnian-style knights with a real Gothic old world feel to it.
Oh, yes.
I'm round. He's going all witch huntery. Maleficarum, the hammer of the witches. And so if you're after a warband for Mordheim, if you're still playing that, or just after something with the touch of the old world flair, these are some stonking resin figures that are going to be coming out to allow you to stick them on the tabletop. There are currently a host of heroes and mobs, I suppose you would call them. So you've got your witch hunters, your torturers, your witch finder general, and then the peasantry to chuck in against them. The horrible oiks, the zealots, the religious fanatics who need to be chucked in and set on to people more than anything else. So it's a relatively compact campaign, 12 models with stretch goals as well, which I think they've already hammered through all of them.
They have, yeah.
And as you can see, if you have a Mordheim Witch Hunter warband, you'll know there was the Sigmund Priest, the Zealots, the Witch Hunters, and then their hero equivalents.
The Witch Hunter Captain.
And they've got them in here, including their Witch Hunter Captain doesn't have a single dog sitting on a 20 mil square base looking lonely. He has many, many hounds going absolutely boogaloo. I particularly like the way he's done the, I suppose, concepting behind it. So when you see things like the Zealots, they're not just three nutter butter hairy blokes.
Walking around with sandwich boards.
Yeah. One of them is a noblewoman who has fallen afoul and is trying to make amends, things like that. So they're a really attractive looking set of sculpts, which is always good. They have their own backstory, which has been sort of writ large for them. Just even something like Silver Bayonet, where you're looking for your monster hunters, some of these would not look out of place with their massive hats, their big frock coats, and their gun axes for a Silver Bayonet style warband as well. Obviously, other ones in full plate or running about in nothing but are probably less so. But yeah, stretch goal wise, they've added additional figures to the unit. So for your little mob types, if you're not played Mordheim, you had sort of groups of up to, I would say it was up to 3. Or was it 3 or more? It was 3 or more, wasn't it? Minions who could then be fielded alongside your heroes. So you would have your witch hunter learners and the zealots who were just throwaway chaff, who would run around and level up together as a group. So it didn't matter who was clubbing who to death. They would get some points. But really what you were looking to do was set up your big heroes to do the Lord's own work. And there's bits and pieces in here like options for weaponry. So you'd have the massive Zweihander with big flamberge blade on it, which I've always loved that. Or he can be equipped with an axe or crossbow instead. So variations are good, especially, I suppose, if you're going to be dropping a magnet in there, you can go away. I really like her a lot. Do you remember when they did the Witch Hunters for 40k? And they did Inquisitors and Witch Hunters, and they had a couple of female Inquisitors who were wearing sort of ornate armor, very Blanchesque, but with like ruffles and cloaks and stuff. It's got that feel to it, but dropped back into fantasy again. Which is absolutely outstanding.
They've got a few of those for Necromunda now as well that would suit if you just ported them over.
So yes, gorgeous set of figures, and hopefully more to come from Giuseppe. You can pick up the previous set as well as add-ons. So this is the Bretonnian set he did last year?
It was only last year, yeah.
Last year. Which, again, a really nice set of figures. And this was before GW decided they were going to do Bretonnians. And these were absolutely terrific because it gave you a really good set of character models in that sort of, late medieval period that I'm not doing. But with the fantastical edge, if you fancy giving it a go. So yes, well worth checking out if you play Mordheim, because there's still a massive Mordheim. I mean, there's a Mordheim community you would not believe out there. You can go and join them on the Book of Faces. I think they've got like 20,000 members, possibly more.
The thing about the Mordheim guys is they make the bestest gaming tables.
Oh, yeah. They're always so detailed. Yeah, I love them.
You see trying to remember the club. Seen them at Salute 2 years ago. He'd done a 6x4, but it was modular, and it
ran up to the top of the
3
hill.
feet tall.
Yeah.
So it was a whole section of the country or of the city that sloped all the way down, and then the massive crater going into the middle where part of the impact. It was stunning. Yeah, they really do make some spectacular for a game that can be played on a very small, tight, compact board. Once you give some Mordheim players the opportunity to go absolutely ham, they will. They go, well, why not just make the whole city instead? So yeah, if you fancy checking out Axia's Tales of the Old World, it's definitely worth having a look, especially if you fancy dealing with some witches or vampires around the place, or just setting fire to some noble women and telling her to go and batter people with a bit of stick until she feels better. That is also doable. So there you go. There is only a week left on that, but it is funded again, well past its initial target and hammering through stretch goals at a rate of knots. Right, that wraps us up for another week. We will be back on Sunday, where I believe the Brothers Johnston will be visiting with me for the XLBS. Go on.
I might be there.
It'll make you happy. Might not make anybody else happy, but I'll make you happy.
Gonna make everyone miserable, but I'll have a good time.
There you go. You can join us over at OnTableTop.com, and if you're not already a cultist on Sunday morning, then why not sign up for a 30-day free trial and see what all the fun and games are about. Until then, have a great week of gaming. Bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.